Hello friends, today we will see the topic on classification of data. So after introduction of biostatistics and getting some information about different types of data, different types of variable, now it's time to see how the data can be classified. So, so first we will see the classification. What classification will yield? So it will condense and simplify the data. And after condensation and simplification of the data, it will facilitate the comparison between different sets of data. So if you are having two different kinds of data set or many different kinds of data set, if you will properly classify the data set, you can make the comparison between the different kind of data set, and this will clearly show the different point of either agreement or disagreement. So whenever if you want to know the agreement and disagreement between the different sets of data, you have to classify the data in one or either way. So overall, it enables us to study the relationship between several characteristics and make further statistical treatment like tabulation. So this classification will also result in the tabulation of data. You will be able to tabulate the data in efficient way. Then second one is, now before classifying data, you should know what is frequency, because the classification of data is otherwise known as frequency distribution of the data. So what is frequency? It is the number of occurrence of a given type of event against each class. So what you have to do, you have to classify data into different classes, and against each class the number of occurrence of a particular event will be represented, and such number against each class will be known as frequency of that particular class. So the frequency can also be defined as number of members of a population or sample falling into each specific class. So whatever number of particular sample or population is falling against each class, that number is called as frequency. So coming to the frequency distribution. What is frequency distribution? It is the process of distributing observation into different classes. So what basically we are doing, we are classifying the number of observation into different classes. The table showing this distribution, and when we are distributing the frequency among different classes in the form of a table, such table is known as frequency distribution table. So the table of categories and their respective number of observation in the sample is called as frequency distribution, and each category is said to be the class. So whatever category we are preparing, that category is known as class, and observation corresponding to that class is called as frequency, that we have already seen in the last slide. Now, so first I have already told you in the previous classes what is different kinds of data. So basically I will be telling here about the qualitative and quantitative data. So classification or frequency distribution of qualitative data, it is very easy. Why it is very easy? Because in qualitative qualitative variable, classification of qualitative variables, you need not form the class, because the number of classes in such classification will be fixed. That means for qualitative variable, the number of classes will be fixed and class interval will also be fixed. See, this is the example, and here you can see the number of students of different blood groups in SDIU during 2015. So I have taken one hypothetical example where it is showing in year 2015 what are the different blood groups of students of SDIU. So we know the number of class here is fixed. That is, number of class here it is fixed because the blood group will be of 4 type: A, B, AB, and O. And so this is the frequency frequency against each class. So blood group A will have is having 260 individuals, B 315 individual. So such type of classification for qualitative data, it is very easy because the number of class and class interval it is fixed. So now we will see in what condition the number of class and class interval is not fixed. So there, in that case, we will have to fix the number of class as well as the class interval. So coming to the next for quantitative data. So frequency distribution of a quantitative character required an arbitrary classification of the data. So here we need the arbitrary classification of data, and grouping into the most appropriate number of classes is a matter of judgment. So you have to judge that how many classes should be there. So this is type of a kind of judgment, but for judgment also there are certain rules that we have to follow. So just take first the ungrouped frequency distribution, where you are not forming a group, but this is certain other type of thing that you, whatever observations, whatever data you are having, you have to simply write the frequency of that particular data. Look at this data here. You can see the aptitude score of students in biostatistics. So what I have done, I have taken the aptitude score of students studying in course biostatistics. So here, if you will see, you can see that these are the aptitude score of students. Around 40 students are there, and first of all, what you have to do, you have to find the minimum and maximum of this observation. So here you can see the minimum is 36 and maximum it is written 75, but it is, I think it is a mistake. Instead of 78, instead of 78 it should be 75. Now what I will do, beginning from 36 up to 75, I will just note down the score. So in the next table here, in the next table you can see that I have written the scores 36, 37, 38, 39, 45 and up to 75. Now what I have to do, I have to see how many times this 36 score is available in our original data. So I gone through the data, and it is telling that 36 is present only one time, then 36 it is not present, then 38 not present, 39 one time. Similarly, you see the 42 in this data is present 2 times, so I will write 2 against that 42. So similarly, up to 75, the up to the highest score I will do, and such type of classification is called as ungrouped frequency distribution, where we are not forming any group, but whatever scores or whatever observation, whatever data we are having, I will just simply put that data and write frequency of that particular data against that particular data. So this is called as ungrouped frequency distribution. Now the next will be the grouped frequency distribution. So what the real problem starts with the group frequency distribution, where you have to form the different groups. So why the group frequency distribution is needed? Because if the spread of observation is large, so what we have seen in the previous slide, the observation was ranging from 36 to 75. So this is not a very large set of data. But suppose if the observation is spreading from 36 to 36,000, so it will be very difficult to write from 36 to 36,000 each and every data in a sheet of paper. So in that case, what we have to do, we have to group the different kinds of data on the basis of certain procedure, on the basis of certain rules. So what we will do, we will do the tabulation of raw data. How we will tabulate the data? By dividing them into number of classes. So what I will do, so here the number of classes will be determined and indicating the corresponding class frequency against each class interval. So just see here, here we have taken different class. So 36 to 41 class, 41 to 45, 46 to 50, up to 71 to 75. So the same thing, the previous data, the data of aptitude score, I have just keep it into the form of group frequency distribution. So look at this 36 to 40, whatever observation that is coming in between 36 and 40, I have just noted down it in the form of a frequency. So here you can see between 36 to 40, 2 observations were there. So the frequency of that particular class will be 2. Similarly, 41 to 45, it is 5, and up to 71 to 75, it is 2. So total, I have told you the total 40 observation we had taken. So sum of the frequency will be around 40. Now we have to see how to determine the number of classes and the class interval. So for that, this is the guideline for preparation of frequency distribution. So what first we have to do, we have to find the range of the data. So what is range? The range is the maximum value minus minimum value. So remember the previous example, there the maximum value was 75 and the minimum value was 36. So the difference between minimum value and maximum value and minimum value will be the range. Now after taking range, what we have to do, taking into the account the magnitude of the range, the class interval is determined such that the total number of class is not less than 5 and not greater than 15. So by convention, you have to keep the number of classes between 5 and 15, because if it is very, it will be, if you are keeping number of classes very less, then you will not find any benefit of classifying the data. And if it is very high number of classes, then it will be very difficult to interpret the data. So it should be optimum, and by convention it has been kept between 5 to 15, but this is not a hard and fast rule. Depending upon your data set, there can be slight variation. The third point is that if the number of observation in data is n, then if you are having n observation, so number of class can be determined on the basis of 2 raised to k. 2 raised to k should be greater than or equal to n. So this is the basic rule, or you can say thumb rule for classification of the data. So what number of classes should be there? So k, here k is the number of classes. So 2 raised to k should be greater than or equal to n. So how it works, we will see in the next slide. Suppose we are having 200 data, n is equal to 200. So the formula was 2 raised to n should be greater than or equal to n. 2 raised to k should be greater than or equal to n. So here n is 200. So that means 2 raised to k should be greater than or equal to 200. So just now we will try to find out the value of k. Suppose k is 2. So what will be the 2 raised to k? So it will be 2 raised to 2, that is 4. So 4 is neither greater than nor equal to 200. So we will go on. So if it is 3, then 2 raised to 3 is equal to 8. This is again lesser than 200. Then 2 raised to 4, it is 16. It is still lesser than 200. So likewise we will go on, and when we will come to 2 raised to 8, so 2 raised to 8, it is 256. 256, which is greater than 200. If you will see 2 raised to 7, so 2 raised to 7 is coming 128. So 128 is again lesser than 200. So we will increase 1 by 1. So 2 raised to 8 is equal to 256, which is greater than 200. So the 8 will be the value of k will be 8. That means the number of classes will be 8. So this is the basic rule or thumb rule for for knowing the number of classes. Now another rule which was given by Sturz. This is called as Sturz rule. This is an alternative method for determining the number of class. So here this is the formula for determining the number of class. K is equal to 1 plus 3.3 log n. So this is a formula where k is equal to number of class, n is equal to total number of observation. So suppose you are having 100 observation. That means n is equal to 100. So now you know the log n, log 100 is equal to 2. So 2 into 3.3 is equal to 6.6 plus 1, that is 7.6. So 7.6 is equal to 8, approximately 8. So here the number of classes will be 8. So these are the two methods by which you can determine the number of class. Now we'll see what are the advantages or disadvantages of these two class, or merit or demerit of these two methods of determination of number of classes. So you see, but by this rule we get too many classes. This rule means by Sturz law, Sturz rule, you will get too many classes when n is small, and it gives too few classes when n is large. So when n, that means total number of observation, is large, you will get two less classes by Sturz formula, and if it is very small, n is very small, you will get too many classes. Just see, we will go to the previous slide and we will see how whether it is correct or not. Just see in the previous class, this was the formula. You see, if number of observation is 10, so what will be the number of class? If number of observation is 10, that means log n, log 10 will be 1. So number of class will be 3.3 into 1 is equal to 3.3 plus 1 is equal to 4.4. 4.4. That means ki 5 class. The number of classes will be 5 when you are having only 10 observation. Suppose you are having 1000 observation. Suppose you are having 1000 observation. So in case of 1000 observation, if you are having 1000 observation, so what will be the value? Log 1000. So log 1000 will be coming to 3, and 3 into 3.3 is equal to 9.9 plus 1. That means is equal to 10.9 is equal to 11 classes. So if you are having 1000 observation, you will get only 11 class, but if you are having 10 observation, you will get 5 class. That means if you are having large number of observation, this will give very less class, and if you are having a small number of classes, this will give too many classes. So this was the demerit of Sturz law. It is, however, an accepted convention that I have already mentioned, that the number of classes should be between 5 to 15. So these are the two methods by which you can determine the number of classes. So after deciding the number of classes, we select the class interval. So I will tell you later on what is a class interval. I have already described also. Now it is described that the class length or class interval of each class is the same. So what you have to do, if you decided that number of class should be 5, what should be the class interval? So class interval, it is always preferable that class interval should be equal. So whatever, suppose 5 classes, the interval of class should be equal. But this is also not necessary. Many a times the class interval may be varying also. If the class interval of all the classes are equal, it is easy to compute certain descriptive measures. So this is the advantage. If you are keeping the class interval equal, then you very easily you can describe your data, or you can compare your data. Otherwise, if the class interval will be different, it will be difficult. Now, what are the considerations in forming the class? So these are the consideration that these points you have to consider while preparing the different classes. So what are the consideration? First, that classes should not be overlapping. What means, what is the meaning of this? Classes should not be overlapping. Suppose you form first class between 1 and 5. So whatever observation is coming in between 1 and 5, you will keep in this class. But if you take second class as 3 between 3 and 6, so one at these whatever observation it is coming under 3 and 6, you will write here. But this will be overlapping to the previous class also. Here, suppose you have kept one between 1 and 5, then another class you formed between 3 and 6. So suppose one observation is 4. So where you will keep? You will keep here also and here also. So such situation is called as the situation of overlapping, that we have to avoid. So the classes should not be overlapping. There should be no gap between the classes. No gap, that this is just opposite to this. No gap means, suppose one class you formed of 1 to 5. Another class, next class you formed between 7 to 10 or 7 to 12. So if a data is coming, if an observation is 6, where you will keep? So there is no class for keeping the observation 6. So there should not be any gap between the classes. Now classes should preferably be of the same size. That means the class interval should be same. Suppose 1 to 5, then 5 to 10. Here the class interval is 5. So the class interval should be same. Then open-ended classes should be avoided. What is open-ended classes? Suppose you formed a class of 1 to 5, then 5 to 10, and the last class you kept more than 10. So this is open-ended class. Open-ended class means कि whatever observation which is more than 10 will come into this class. So this type of classes should be avoided, but under specific circumstances, as per our need, we can keep open-ended class also, but generally it should be avoided. Then class limit should be such that there is no ambiguity as to which class a particular item or of data belongs to. So class limit should be very well defined. There should not be any ambiguity. It should be very clear. Where whatever observation you are getting, it should be very clear that it will go into which class, either in first class or second class or third class or whatever class. But it should be very clear. There should not be ambiguity. Oh, this observation will go in first class or second class. This confusion should not be there. Now, class interval. So the class interval, you have already find out the number of class by Stubbs formula, or 2 raised to k should be greater than or equal to n. So by these two formula, you have already calculated the number of class. Now, what should be the class interval? So for getting class interval, you have to identify the range of the data. So range of the data, in case of aptitude score, you just remember 75 and 36. So 75 minus 36 will be the range, divided by number of classes that you have already find out. You have already calculated. So range divided by number of class will give the class interval. So now you have number of class and the dimension of class interval. Now we will go to the few terms. So what is the term? Mid value or central value. So mid value of the class. So suppose you are having class 1 to 5. So what will be the mid value? Average of the class boundary of that class. Average of the class boundary. What is class boundary? 1 and 5. So 5 plus 1 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. 3 will be the mid value or central value. And what will be the class interval here? So 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. So this 4 will be the class interval, and 3 will be the mid value. So the class interval is the difference between the upper boundary point and lower boundary point of each class. So this is the class interval. Now So this is an example, class 10 to 20. So mid value will be 20 plus 10 divided by 2 is equal to 15. Then also the class interval, class is 10 to 20. So 20 minus 10 is equal to 10. That will be the class interval. Now there are two methods of frequency distribution. Two methods of frequency distribution. First is inclusive method. This is also very important because you will get in many a situation you will get this which method you should apply for frequency distribution. So first one is inclusive method and another is exclusive method. So inclusive method, the upper limit of one class is not the lower limit of another higher class. So just see one example. Suppose I have formed one class 1 to 5 and the next subsequent class is 6 to 10. So 6 to 10. So just see this line. The upper limit of one class is not the lower limit of another higher class. Here upper limit of one class is 5. This is not the lower limit of higher class. Here in the lower limit of higher class is 6. So these two are not equal. But many a times you will see the class interval like 1 to 5 and then 5 to 10. So this is these are the two different types of frequency distribution. So in inclusive method, this is the example of, this one is the example of inclusive method, where upper limit of one class is not the lower limit of another higher class. So what is the difference between these two? The observation equal to both lower and upper limit will be included in the particular class. So suppose one data come 5. So where you will keep 5 here? In 1 to 5 or 5 to 6? So here you will write data in the first class. 5 you will write into the first class. But here in this case, if 5 will come, you will not keep 5 in the first class, but it will go into the second class, because this is the exclusive method. So this I will tell you further also. The observation equal to both lower and upper limit will be included in that particular class. So the observation equal to both lower and upper limit will be included in that particular class. Example, observation 150 and 154 will be included in the class 150 to 154. So here in this method of inclusive method, the class is 150 to 154. So either 150 will come, it will go to this class. If 154 is coming, then also it will go to this class. So this kind of classification is applicable in case of discrete data. Another method is exclusive method. Exclusive method means the upper limit of particular class is same as the lower limit of the next higher class. So here is the upper limit class of the class is 5, and the next higher class, the lower limit is also 5. So where 5 will go? So I have told you earlier where 5 will go. So in this exclusive method, the 5 will go into the next higher class. So this is the example. It is given here 150 to 155, 155 to 160, 160 to 165 and so on. The variable value equal to the upper limit of a class is grouped into the next higher class, that I have already told you. Suppose 155 is coming. So 155 will not go into this class. It will not go in this class, but it will go into the next higher class. Okay. Thus 155 is to be grouped in the class 155 to 160 and so on. So this kind of classification or frequency distribution is applicable in case of continuous data. So I think hopefully this inclusive method and exclusive method is very clear to you, because we will utilize this in our further classes. So this method, these two, it should be very clear in your mind. In case of any doubt, you can ask me in the comments. Then this is an example of frequency distribution table. Here you can see after deciding the number of class and class interval, we will form the different classes. Detail of this preparation of frequency distribution table you will see in your practical classes also. So what I have done, I have prepared the different classes after calculating number of class as well as class interval. Now I will see my observation raw data. I will see my raw data and I will find how many number of observation are present between 0 to 10. So here, and for each observation I will put one line. If 2 observation I will put 2 line, 3 then 3 line, if 4 then 4 line, and if fifth then I will put one oblique line. So this whole set, this set will be counted as 5. So here you can see in first class total number of observation are 4. In second class you can see this 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. In third class 5 plus 5 plus 2 is equal to 12. Then 5 plus 5 plus 4 is equal to 19. So like this you can prepare a frequency distribution table, and this is the frequency against each class, and here we have seen how to count the frequency, and this column is known as tally mark. So this is the tally. So this is how this frequency distribution table will look like. More detail you will see in your practical classes. Now another term very commonly is asked along with this frequency distribution table is cumulative frequency. So what is cumulative frequency? It is defined as the running total of the frequency. Running total of the frequency. What is running total? The sum of all previous frequency up to the current point. Suppose I am creating another column of cumulative frequency. So in first class the frequency is 4, and what is the sum of previous class? There was no previous class, so the cumulative frequency will be 4. In the next class the frequency is 10. So what will the cumulative frequency? 10 plus frequency of previous class. The frequency of previous class is 4. So the cumulative frequency will be 14. Then another third class, the frequency is 12. And sum of the previous classes, those 12 plus 10 plus 4. So it will be coming around 26. Then 26, then it will be next 26 plus 13. It will be 39. And likewise, finally, in the last class, you will get the cumulative frequency of 100. So this is the concept of cumulative frequency. So hopefully, the preparation of frequency distribution table, how to find out the number of classes, what is class interval, what is mid value, and how you will find the class interval, what is range, this kind of terms, and the procedure of frequency distribution, inclusive method and exclusive method. Hopefully it is clear to you. In the next class we will see the tabulation of data. So these are the two methods of classifying data in statistics. The first one is the frequency distribution and another one is the tabulation of data. Thank you.